All right, everyone, we've reached Friday. Well done for that. And your reward is another Celtic match this weekend. The team are back at Celtic Park tomorrow when we face Newcastle United. But it's not just any old pre-season game. Why would you think that? The Adidas Trophy is on the line. And with that hugely renowned honour up for grabs, I thought it would be good to chat to a Newcastle fan. So Lee will join me later on for a chat about the game and maybe a few other topics as well concerning Celtic and Newcastle. Before then, though, we've got a wide range of issues to cover. So let's get on with that. Let's just start with the transfer stuff, and I take you back to a video I recorded actually exactly a month ago today, so it was the 18th of June. You may remember I was going through, doing a bit of my own scouting, very simple scouting, just searching for players around the world actually who have scored loads of goals last season, and I was doing it on Transfer Marked, and this is how it went. But there is a kind of sweet spot here with a couple of players. Now, for example, like Louis Munteanu, 23-year-old player playing for Cluj in Romania. Did a wee bit of digging on him. 19 goals in 25 matches last season. Playing for Romania currently at the under-21 Euros. Scored a goal there against Spain. So, yeah, playing in a decent league, young, has scored some goals. I think he's got interest from a few teams in Spain, so he's clearly a kind of sought-after player. So last night, Marius from the Legends at Romania CSC posted online about Celtic's interest in Louis Munteanu being reported in the Romanian media. This is an exclusive story from Romanian outlet I Am Sport. Translated, their story says that Celtic have offered €8 million, which is a touch under £7 million, to Cluj for Munteanu, and that bid was swiftly rejected. Now, Chufari Cluj, and yes, that's how you say it, and can you tell that I loved my time in Cluj in Romania in 2019 following Celtic. Great country. Anyway, getting sidetracked. They want well over €10 million for Munteanu, which would be one of the record sales in the history of Romanian football. I actually read that the Cluj owner is said to want €18 million, which is over £15 million for Munteanu, which seems like wishful thinking from him to drive the price up. Munteanu actually been at Chufari, I'll stop that. Munteanu been at Cluj for just over a year. I think he signed last summer from Fiorentina, and I was reading that Fiorentina actually still hold like 50% of his registration. Now, I must admit, I'm not totally sure how that works, but I would assume from that if and when Munteanu leaves Cluj, Fiorentina will be entitled to some of that money. So that might be one of the reasons why Cluj are trying to drive the fee up as high as possible, because they know that Fiorentina are getting a good cut. So yeah, Munteanu, Celtic interested. He actually hasn't really been playing for Cluj so far this season. The Romanian season starts like early to mid-July, so they've played a couple of Romanian matches, I think like a Super Cup match and their opening league match. They've also played a couple of Europa League qualifiers, and Munteanu actually hadn't played in any of Cluj's first 3 matches. I think reading between the lines, the feeling was that Cluj were holding him back so that he didn't pick up an injury, because I think they're quite reliant on the transfer fee. However, he did return back to the Cluj team last night. He came on as a late sub for the last 15 minutes in their Europa League qualifier against the Hungarian side Paxi, and he actually came on and scored. And goals have been a bit of a theme with Munteanu, to be honest, throughout his relatively short career so far, but especially since he returned to Romania a year ago. He scored a total of 23 goals in 35 league matches last season, making him the top scorer in the Romanian top league. He scored a couple of other goals in the Romanian Cup as well, and he was also part of the Romania under-21 squad at the under-21 Euros this summer and actually scored against Spain. So I know what you're thinking. Maybe at long last, Celtic are actually in for a striker who appears to score goals. that might be a little bit harsh on some of the other players that we've been linked with and signed so far this summer, but I think it's promising. However, again, you're probably thinking, yeah, this is a bit too good to be true. And you may well be right, because there's a fair bit of interest in Munteanu as well. And like, strangely, all of it that's been reported so far seems to be coming from France. So Rennes are apparently in for him. And personally, I think Rennes should have a transfer ban given how they treated Jota and Kyogo. But that's a different topic. Nice and Lille are the two other clubs been linked with Munteanu. And given that interest and given the want from Cluj to drive up the price, I think there is a chance that he goes for a fee higher than what Celtic are prepared to pay. However, like, Celtic did pay £11 million for Arne Engels last season. We paid just under that, I think, for Adam Ida. And clearly, like, Celtic are making so much money at the moment that the money is there for the club to spend big again. And I, despite some of the chat, I do still think Celtic are going to spend big on a couple of players this summer. Whether it's Munteanu or not, we'll wait and see. But I mean, Brendan Rodgers the other night after the Sporting game made it pretty clear that he wants to replace the goals that we've lost since Kyogo and Kuhn left us. And Munteanu, as I say, 23 goals in the league last season in Romania. Decent enough level, similar to Scottish football. He's 23 years old, so still pretty young. I just think this is a signing Celtic have to try and make. Whether we can or not, I don't know. I know there's going to be I can already see the comments, there'll be a fair bit of scepticism, is this even real? It is coming from Romanian media, which I think is interesting. This isn't just kind of a daft thing being made up in Scotland, it's local media that's reporting it. So I think Celtic are in for Munteanu. How serious we are? Well, we're apparently made an offer, so I'd say we're relatively serious. How high are we prepared to go? Who knows? But yeah, given his goal scoring record, given the improvement you have as a 23-year-old, I was watching some clips and he's 6 foot or 6'1", so decent height, scores all kinds of goals, pretty good right foot. I would love to see Celtic make this move. I think it's the kind of player we should be targeting, like a player flourishing at kind of just the level just below us. Cluj are a big club in Romania. They're probably the most successful club in Romania over the last 10 or 15 years. They compete for trophies. Romanian football, fairly similar level to Scottish football, but clearly Celtic a step up from Cluj. I think these are the kind of players that we should be targeting. So I'm pleased that we're linked with them, but it is just a link at this stage. Celtic, you need to just try and get a deal done. Don't fanny about for weeks and weeks. Try and get him in, because I think it's pretty certain that he'd score goals for us. So that's the story there with our big transfer report for today. We'll wait and see if anything comes from that. Just in other news, did mention yesterday that Brendan Rodgers has spoken a bit about Louis Palma in the Algarve after the game on Wednesday night, and saying, I think at that stage he was saying that he's pretty likely to leave on loan. And it was reported yesterday that he may well be heading out to Lech Poznan in Poland on loan for the season. Now, I know a number of people bringing up a Polish report for this. The Polish report that I saw, I think from a local Poznan-based outlet, was actually just reporting what the original report was, and that comes from Football Insider's Pete O'Rourke, who yesterday tweeted to say, understand Celtic's out of favour winger Louis Palma is set to leave the club to join Polish side Lech Poznan on loan. Now, I tend not to bring up Football Insider stuff because in the nicest possible way, a lot of their stuff can tend to be nonsense, to be honest. But O'Rourke seems pretty certain about this, and it's a bit of a kind of niche rumour to make up, to be honest. So it seems like Louis Palma is going to be leaving us on loan to sign for Lech Poznan. Away from the transfer stuff, just a few other stories I want to bring you. A few quotes coming out of the Celtic camp in the Scottish media late last night. The Scottish Sun have some quotes from Kasper Schmeichel. Nothing major in there, obviously kind of talking about his future. Basically, Kasper Schmeichel saying that he cherishes going into training every day and playing matches. No complaints from him about like a short summer. In fact, he actually said it would have been great if Celtic could have been part of the Club World Cup, so he could have been part of that. So he wants to play as much football as possible, and he says that being at a club like Celtic with like such high demands and such a winning culture really motivates him. And basically he says as long as he has that motivation, he'll keep playing, and says he's just taking everything as it comes and won't be saying anything about retiring or playing on right now. He's just living in the moment, which is what Joe Hart used to say. And I think the common feeling with Kasper Schmeichel is that this might be his last season and he might retire at the end of this campaign. I think people look at the World Cup taking place and like quite possibly he wants to finish playing for Denmark at the World Cup, and that would be a cool way to finish. But I don't think there's actually anything come from Kasper Schmeichel or his camp to suggest that. It's just kind of something few people have said, and it's suddenly become what's expected to happen. I'm not sure there's any guarantees that is what happens. I think the message here from Kasper Schmeichel is if he's feeling good and he's still motivated, he'll keep going. And he kind of does strike me as a guy who'll just want to keep playing as long as possible. He's quite similar to Joe Hart, I think, in terms of personality. And Joe Hart's reason for retiring at the end, I've got the quote here, the telling quote from Joe Hart that he gave to Sky Sports after his final game at Celtic Park. He said, "I got to a point in my life where I got an opportunity and I didn't want to push that luck." So I think Joe Hart, basically reading between the lines, he wanted to kind of go out on top when he was still playing well, rather than like maybe trying for another season, pushing his luck and maybe not playing as well, making a few mistakes, being replaced as the number one in his career, kind of petering out. And I think Kasper Schmeichel will want to be the same. He won't want to start making loads of mistakes and Vilsen comes in and he finishes as like a number two. He'll want to, I think, go out like Joe Hart as a number one for Celtic. So the question just is how long can he be Celtic's number one? And I know he finished the season pretty poorly with that howler in the Scottish Cup final, but I do think people have got short memories. I think he had a great season last year. I mean, some of the saves he made in Europe, the difference he made to the way we were playing out from the back, I think was huge, and we really commented on that at the time. And even the other night against Sporting Lisbon, I think you saw that when he was back in the team. So I think Kasper Schmeichel can be Celtic's number one this season. I think he's rightfully starting as number one. And then, we'll address it in the summer. I'm quite relaxed about the situation. I don't know how you feel, but I think Vilsen is a future Celtic number one. Like, I really like him. I like his personality. I think he's a big figure in that dressing room, even when he's not playing. I think he's a good goalkeeper as well, who's like pretty young and is only going to get better. So quite relaxed about that. But yeah, Kasper for me, number one at the moment. And yeah, I think, he starts the big games for me, still given his experience, but I want to see more of Sinizalo in the Cups and maybe the odd league game, and I think we will. The other quotes in the media last night are from the Daily Record. This won't take long at all. It's just Brendan Rodgers talking a little bit about Benjamin Nygren, saying that he's very excited about Nygren and that he wants to, quote, improve the intensity of his pressing. So I think that's something to really look out for with Nygren. But I think we're all pretty excited about that. Just another story I want to tell you about. You'll probably know Falkirk are back in the Scottish Premiership this season after they won the Championship last year. And yeah, for me, they'll be a great addition to the Premiership. It's nice to have like new teams coming into the league. And I think Falkirk, as I say, will be, a really good addition to the league. And that's probably been highlighted by an announcement they made yesterday, saying that they've sold out nearly 5,700 season tickets so far, which is apparently the 7th highest in Scottish football. So that's really good figures. Great to have them back in the league. And they still have some tickets to sell and will make around 500 tickets per home game available to home fans on general sale. I worded that horrendously. Basically, they're holding back like 500 tickets for general sale as well. So the point I'm getting to here is that the Falkirk Stadium holds, I think, just less than 8,000. So there's not going to be too many tickets made available to away fans and Celtic fans when we go there. And Falkirk have actually announced that only 759 seats will be allocated to each and every away team. So it doesn't matter if it's Livingston, Motherwell, Celtic or Rangers, will get 749 tickets, which is fairly low. Celtic fans will have half of the North Stand sections ND, NE and NF. Now, I should say I don't have a problem at all with Falkirk doing this. They've got to look out for their home fans. I think my issue, and probably for the same for you, I would think, is when clubs cut our away allocation to like a ridiculous number and then you go or you watch the game in telly and there's like literally thousands of empty seats in the home end, because that just has you scratching your head and wondering what the hell is going on. How do we reach a point where home clubs would rather have empty seats than people actually paying for tickets and being there? It's a ridiculous concept. But anyway, Falkirk seems like their stadium's going to be pretty full for every home game given the season ticket sales. So I don't have a problem with this at all. But I think just on a wider point, and I did spend far too long on this earlier researching just for one graphic, but I think it's interesting just looking at how many tickets Celtic are likely to receive for each away Premiership match this season. But yeah, just for those of you watching, so the numbers next to the actual bars themselves is the number of tickets Celtic have received or are likely to receive for this coming season. And the actual bars going across are as a percentage of the capacity of the stadium. So the further the bar goes across, like Livingston, for example, shows you how much of their stadium they give to us. I think it's like 75% that Livingston give us. So yeah, I mean, so some interesting findings in there. The one that really sticks out in terms of a poor allocation is Tynecastle. Celtic fans only get 632 tickets for Tynecastle, which is a pretty small percentage of their stadium, given it holds about 20,000. The majority, the two Dundee clubs giving us 3,500. The Hibs allocation is a strange one, because you might remember about a year ago, there was big news about Hibs cutting our allocation. And then the first time we went there last season for the early season 2-0 win, we had our allocation cut. And I think they had blocked off 2 blocks of the away stand at Easter Road. And then the second time we went there last season for the game that we lost, suddenly we had the full stand again. So I'm not sure what's going on with Hibs, but it seems like we're getting the full stand there again. Obviously Rangers at Ibrox now, we're getting a couple of thousand, which is still very small in terms of the whole capacity of Ibrox as a percentage, but much better than what we had. Aberdeen giving us just shy of 1,700. Motherwell giving us 4,500. So there's some interesting findings in this. And yeah, the Falkirk stuff is what the third smallest allocation that we receive. But as I say, I've not got a huge issue with it as long as those seats in the home end are filled, and they probably should be. So yeah, that's the situation ahead of another season in Scottish football. So a huge Newcastle United support expected at Celtic Park on Saturday. So let's catch up with one of them. Lee Lawler is from popular YouTube channel Newcastle Fans TV. They put a number on it for us, Lee. How many Newcastle fans are we expecting at Celtic Park?
Over 10,000, put it that way. We're going straight along the A69 to Carlisle and straight up into Bonnie, Scotland. And if you don't see us, you'll definitely hear us. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you very much for having me on.
No worries. I saw that I think it was a Celtic supporters liaison officer yesterday was saying that the car park outside the back of the Emirates Arena, which is like a kind of velodrome for the 2014 Commonwealth Games, it's usually like a coach park for the Celtic support. And I think they've changed it to a coach park for the Newcastle support for this game. So I'm not sure what that says about the Celtic support, but it's going to be the biggest biggest away support, at Celtic Park, I think, in certainly this century. Is it just quite an exciting trip for you guys, or not too far to go?
Yeah, weirdly we're going north, which is very strange for us. First, was where I was heading south. We've our nearest teams before the new teams come up this season. It was like 2.5 hour drive to Manchester, but yeah, it's what's 2.5 hours to Glasgow, about the same. So yeah, we're looking forward. I think, do you know what it is? I think it's because we beat Carlisle last week 4-0 behind closed doors. This is the first public one and it's always a little bit, a party atmosphere mode. There's nothing really lying on it. It's a different ground for us because we don't always get to Celtic. It's been over 20 years. I mean, we did Rangers a couple of years ago when we beat them in Alan McGregor's testimony, so that was good. But yeah, it's just because we don't get to play used often, and Scottish teams is very rare, isn't it? So really looking forward to it.
And I mean, you guys might make up a good percentage of the support at Celtic Park. I think you're aware of this, but there's a bit of a kind of mini boycott going on. Basically, the story is that I think in years gone by, these kind of games have been part of the season ticket, and you would get in for free basically as part of your season ticket. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just this year or if it's been in recent years, Celtic have done away with this and are now asking fans to pay, I think like £25, maybe something like that for this game. So a lot of Celtic fans just staying away, which I guess is a shame. If it had been on the season ticket, you'd probably have got a sellout for this game, or certainly pretty close. I don't know what percentage or how many Celtic fans you're going to get. You're maybe going to get 20,000, 25,000, so it should still be a decent enough crowd, but it's a bit of a disappointment.
I agree. I think, look, you're going to have some Newcastle fans in the home end as well, I think, as well. So just, look, everyone will behave. We're going on with best behaviours, but look, if they're being told one thing, they're being told something else. I mean, we've got a history of Mike Ashley before our owners came in. We only know too well false promises, but fans don't get looked after, unfortunately. The cost of a ticket nowadays is through the roof. So I don't blame them. Look, it's a nothing game. Let's be honest. It's just
the Adidas Trophy's a nothing game. Are you sure? I thought that was a big deal.
I've seen Shea giving it. Who's the other one? Is it Stephen McManus?
Stephen McManus, yeah.
I've seen them doing a press conference for him. I was like, what's going on? Yeah, and we've bumped it. We've bumped it to Shea Given quite a few times, and we'll see him on our pre-season as well. It was just a bit bizarre. I've seen a press conference for a friendly, but hey ho, they're bigging it up. Why not?
Yeah, I think they think we're daft as football fans, and if they give it a little tag... Oh, we've got 3 trophies we're going for in pre-season. We've got the Adidas Trophy, we've already won the Cork Super Cup, and then we've got the Como Cup in Italy next week, so it's just what happens these days. What's it like being a Newcastle fan at the moment? I guess it's pretty good times.
Oh, it's mint, isn't it? I remember Uslok came down. I think he was playing Sunderland about 4 years ago, and he's all came down with Tyne Centre in Newcastle. So our city centre was absolutely rammed with Celtic supporters. And you just definitely know the right city, don't you? But being a Newcastle fan, it's just, do you know what it is? I mentioned his name before, didn't I? They sucked the life out of us, and we just thought we're a dead-end club, nothing's happening here. But since the takeover, and I know the Saudis get a lot of stick, but they've literally changed the whole club. And if we had our own way, if rules and that weren't changed, the whole PSR will be probably title challengers if we were allowed to spend the money that we were allowed to spend, but we're not. So we have to do it the long way. It's been great. We've won a trophy. And I know you win it time after time after time, but just that initial first one means so much. So for us to win it and qualify back for the Champions League, so Eddie Howe's done an unbelievable job, and he nearly went to Celtic, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm pleased he came and did turn Celtic down and waited a little bit for the Newcastle job to open up, and we absolutely love him to bits.
I was going to bring that up. Are you aware of the sliding doors moment in 2021? So Eddie Howe is like on the brink of getting the Celtic job. I think months and months we waited. And I think it was a case of him not being able to get his backroom team together from Bournemouth at that stage. So that falls through. We get Ange Postecoglou. We go on an amazing journey. You guys, I think 6 months later, get Eddie Howe. How different is Newcastle United history, do you think, if Howe is at Celtic and does it come to use, or is it just the same?
Well, funny enough, Eddie Howe was second choice, actually. So Unai Emery was first choice, and he wouldn't need Villarreal. But look, it's funny how things happen, doesn't it? And you never know what Newcastle, who the manager would be. Look, they would have went for someone big, no doubt about it. I'm just pleased that they've backed him, to be honest with you, in terms of allowing him to try and do as much as possible. And I think, he's now got a little bit more power with a change of roles behind the scenes. He's got the trophy, he's got the Champions League. He has to say on transfers now. And yes, some people might say too much power isn't a healthy thing, but I think Eddie Howe has merited it now. So he'll have a say. And obviously we don't know what's going on with the sporting director role. We've got obviously going to have a new chief executive. But so there'll be some changes behind the boardroom because he was rattled last summer. But he's got a big say, and we've got money to spend this summer, thankfully. I know we've missed out on a few targets recently, but the most important thing was keeping Alexander Isak, so I'm delighted about that.
So what players can fans look forward to seeing on Saturday?
I think Anthony Elanga for us personally, because we've seen all of Newcastle players. I think he's so enthusiastic in all of his interviews, and look, he's just moved to a new club. Of course, he's going to be, but he seems like he's got a bit of a lads feel about him. For Celtic fans, I would say Elanga. You might want to have a look at Tonali on the ball. He's just beautiful to watch. He's just elegant. Look, I don't think many players will play more than 45 minutes. You might get potentially a second half or past the hour. You might get a bunch of under 21s, but Tonali, Bruno, just the way they're on the ball. Anthony Gordon, Isak is just like a gazelle. He's just so slinky and slidey. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to coming up and seeing all your Japanese stars, because I was in Japan last year for pre-season, and we were mentioning Celtic as well, because you were just ploughing the market of Japanese players. So Celtic are very big in Japan, put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, we've actually just signed 2 more Japanese players this summer. I'm not sure if either of them. I don't know if either of them will actually feature. Inamura, who's been playing centre back, but he's been playing at left back, might play. But Daisen and Rayo are definitely worth watching. I mean, they're both class acts. You guys are in the Champions League this year. We've got a round of qualifying to come through. So do you fancy a game if we get there?
Do you want the nicest was possible? I don't want to go to Glasgow for Champions League night.
And that's fancy that, no?
I want to go. Do you know what? I went to PSG. I went to Dortmund. I've done Milan for a fan experience. That was incredible. I want the Bernabeu. Yeah. Give me Bernabeu away. I want to go to Bayern Munich's away ground. I want to do. That's why, as a fan, that's why you're in the Champions League. That's why you go to these places. If we get Rangers or Celtic or whoever, we say even
Rangers won't be there. Come on, they're not going to make it.
People said 2 years ago, if we're going to get into Rangers 2 years ago, I'm not having that. But I want to go on a flight. Put it that way. I want somewhere random, like in Norway or something like that. It's the experience of the fan. Like, you tell my tone and excitement that I am, because I love traveling, and that's part of one of my passions with football. And just cannot wait for the Champions League. August 28th, though. Is it the 28th, 26th? Is one of the two. That the draw comes out. So every Newcastle fan will be glued to the telly watching that. We cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm not looking at the draw dates until we get there, but hopefully we do. Went to the Bernabeu a few years ago, but it was when it was being still built or reconstructed, so it wasn't quite the real Bernabeu, but still, God, the view when you first go out and the away fans are right at the top and the pitch is so far away from you. So yeah, hopefully you get that. The final thing I wanted to ask you about, so you guys are with Adidas, obviously it's the Adidas trophy on the line this weekend. We've had a lot of chat about Adidas, and I think mixed feelings amongst the Celtic support about the amount of kits that we're getting, the quality of the kits as well in terms of like the design. I know you guys, I think I saw you tweeting or wearing your new blue third kit for the first time in this game, which is really nice apart from it being blue. But what's the Newcastle fans' thoughts on Adidas as a whole?
Well, my first memory is 95-96 season, and it was Adidas. It was the iconic Brunel. So Kevin Keegan signed Les Ferdinand. I think Euro 96 just happened. Going into that season, into Euro 96 as well. We nearly won the title. For me, it's amazing memories. I look at them kits as fond memories. Castori are absolutely shocking. Even your enemy rivals, Rangers, and say that they're horrendous. We love Adidas because it brings back the memories. I think they are better quality than what Castori are. Because I wouldn't touch Castori. I wouldn't even buy anything. And when you say kits are coming out all the time, I'll agree with you. There's too many. Every single month there's a new kit. There's a training kit. There's an LGBT kit. There's another one coming. There's a classic kit. It's just. And these t-shirts, just the training tops alone, are not cheap. They're 45 quid upwards, and it's like, And I will get one because I want to wear one for pre-season. One of the training kits. I've got the new home kit, and I personally love Adidas, and that's just because of sentimental value, because it brings back childhood memories for me when I started supporting Newcastle. So I have to admit, I love them. I really do.
Yeah, it's interesting though you bring up the amount of kits because we're the same, and I guess we've kind of got a bit of that. Even though we never really had Adidas previously, it's still Adidas on a Celtic kit with the 3 stripes, which people were calling out for years. But I just sense there's a bit of I think Adidas fatigue, they're calling it in the Celtic support, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Anyway, enjoy your trip up to Glasgow. You'll probably need to leave relatively soon. Nah, you won't. You'll be leaving, early morning on Saturday?
Yeah, what is it, 3 o'clock in it? So I believe probably about 9 because I'm meeting a couple of people up there. So yeah, probably 9, half 9. I'm in no rush.
Well, enjoy yourself.
I will do, thank you.
Just while we're on the topic of Adidas gear, I did come across this Originals top being worn by Callum McGregor alongside Kelly Clark. I think that's a cracker. Definitely going to pick that up if I get the chance, or if maybe someone buys me it. I don't know. Maybe I can fake a birthday or something like that. Ticket sales for tomorrow's game. Will we just quickly jump onto the website and see what's happening? So they've only got 4 sections on sale at the moment. Now you might look at that and think, God, the rest of the stadium's sold out. I'm not actually sure what sections have been open. I think they'll probably be prioritising the bottom tier for this game. Hopefully the bottom tier is at least packed. Obviously Newcastle are going to have, I reckon, all the way round to probably like 113. Like, I'm guessing they'll have like right up to the standing section, maybe not far off that. So it's going to be a bit of a strange atmosphere. As I was saying earlier, the biggest away support that we've seen at Celtic Park for a number of years. I think I saw online that someone was thinking maybe Celtic will sell about 30,000 tickets. So the stadium will still be like 2/3 full if that's the case. But a strange one. As I said earlier, I think it's more about the team and the challenge and getting up to speed for this one. But, looking forward to it. I think it's going to be the next test for the team. And, going to be great to be back at Celtic Park as well. I think I'm expecting to see a similar team to the one that started in the Algarve on Wednesday night. In fact, I've got a predicted 11, or first one of the season. And I think I've gone with 10 of the same 11 that started the other night. The only change I could maybe see would be Johnny Kenny starting if Adam Ida has picked up a knock, which some people were speaking about at half-time of the game the other night. Reckon it'll be too early for Cameron Carter-Vickers. We could see Paulo Bernardo for the first time this season, but who knows with these pre-season games how he's going to go. But I'm going for Schmeichel, Ralston, Murray, Scales, Tierney, McGregor, Nygren, Hatate in midfield. They worked so well the other night. Forrest on the right, Dyson on the left, and I'm going with Kenny through the middle, but we'll see. So enjoy the game if you're going. If, like me, you're watching around the world, I am looking forward to the match. It's a good test for the team as we just step up our pre-season stuff. Hopefully plenty to talk about after the game as well. We'll have a video first thing for you on Sunday morning looking back at the game. There should also be something out first thing Saturday morning ahead of the game. It's not focusing on the game at all, though. It's something non-game related, let's just say, and you can probably guess what it is. I kind of hinted at it earlier in the week. So I'll chat to you then.